Hey guys, it is Ian here, and this is my video for Lab 3 of the INTC 2030 class. Here on the screen I have a couple tasks that we're going to be performing. We're going to add a server core to this lucernpublishing.com domain. We will be installing Dhcp on the server core. We will set Dhcp to start automatically. We will start the Dhcp service and authorize it in Active Directory. We're going to be adding a scope to the Dhcp service. We will add an exclusion and a reservation to the scope. We will be adding a default gateway to the core's addressing. So first off, what we're going to do is we are going to join the core to the domain. In order to do that, we'll type in the netdom join core 01 and then the domain, which in this case is lucernpublishing.com, then the username and the password for the administrator account. In this case, it's MS-Press number 1 for me. Next, what we have to do is we're going to install the DHCP role on the server core. In order to do this, we will type in start/w oc setup and then the DHCP server core. If you see right here, I typed in the system info command and it shows the information of the server core. Here I can verify that it is part of the lucernpublishing.com domain. So we'll go ahead and start the DHCP role in the server core. The next command that we're going to enter will set the DHCP to start automatically, which is scconfig DHCP server start equals auto. Now we have to activate the DHCP service. To do that, we'll type in net start DHCP server, and then we have to authorize the DHCP server in Active Directory. Now it's important that the last commands that we've entered has been on the local administrator's account. In order to authorize the DHCP server in Active Directory, we have to be on the domain administrator account. It will not work on the local administrator. To do that, we're going to type in net sh DHCP server add server core 01 and then the address of the core 01 computer. It completes the command. Now we're going to add a scope to the DHCP server and we're going to name it core scope. Now in order to do that, we'll type in the net sh DHCP server and then the IP address of the core server, and then we'll tap in add scope and then the subnet mask and the name of the scope. Next, what we need to do is we need to add a pool of addresses to the scope. To do that, we're going to type in net sh DHCP server, the core's IP address, then scope, then the network ID, and then we will type in add IP range and the beginning IP address and the ending IP address. In this case, it is .1.10 and .1.30. Now we have to exclude certain addresses in the scope. Now it's important to do this for devices that their IP addresses aren't going to change. In order to do that, we'll type in net sh DHCP server, then the server core's address, then scope, the network ID, and then we will add excluded range, and then the excluded range in this case is .1.10 through .1.20. Now these IP addresses will not be distributed by the DHCP server. Next, what we have to do is we will create reservations for the scope. To do that, we will type in net sh DHCP server, then the IP address of the core computer, then scope, the network ID, which is .1.0. We will add reserved IP, and then the core's IP address and the MAC address. In this case, it's going to be no colons, and in my case, it is 000C2969E6BZ. And then a space after that, and then DHCP_server. Now if you'll notice, I've typed in the both command. This means that it will be booting by both bootp and DHCP. Next what we have to do is we'll add a default gateway to the DHCP. To do that, we'll type in net sh DHCP server 192.168 192.168.1.103, and then the scope, and then 192.168.1.0. We will set the optional value for 003 IP address 192.168.1.1. Now that's the IP address of the default gateway. Now what we're going to do is we'll add a DNS server to the DHCP. To do that, we'll type in netsh DHCP server 192.168.1.103, and then the scope 192.168.1.0. Set the optional value 006 IP address, and then now what's doing that? That'll set the DNS server's address. Now all the changes that we just made to the scope, we have to activate the scope. In order to do that, we'll type in netsh DHCP server 192.168.1.103, and then the scope, which in this case is .1.0, and we have to set the state to 1. Now once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and hop over to the W2K801 computer, and I'm going to change the IPv4 address to obtain automatically, and then we have to type in an ipconfig /renew. That renews the address, tries to pull one from the DHCP server. Now if you'll notice, the IPv4 address that it's given is the 192.168.1.21. Now the reason it gave us 21 is due to the fact that we created the reservation from the .1.10 to the .1.20 IP addresses. So any of the IP addresses in between that reservation aren't going to be used, so it'll give you the next IP address that is available. That completes my video for Lab 3 of the INTC 2030. Thank you guys for watching.